Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer by 10 Forward number 45.
Ooh, it's the correct number for a change.
Yes. This is Chris and joining me today are...
Oh, I had to do a time loop thing, but
We
did that last week.
Yeah.
Dang it. But this is Ames. Still Ames. Forever Ames.
Yay.
Kill me and I'll say it again.
Okay. This is Jake.
Yes, and Caitlin is outside of the time loop still.
Still.
We already did time loop jokes. Okay, just picture Tom Cruise running in your head.
I see that a lot.
Yeah. Actually, thanks to the big goofy armor he has to wear, we don't get, the trademark Tom Cruise T-2000 run he so frequently does.
What movie are you watching today, Chris?
We are watching Edge of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
As we said, might happen at the end of last week's episode, but it was in a quantum state.
Yeah.
So now you have observed us, and we have collapsed.
Mud made it so.
Yes. So, in Edge of Tomorrow, adapted from the, let's be honest, more fascinatingly titled All You Need Is Kill. It's the future-ish. Actually, it's the present. Anyway.
It's 2020.
Okay.
And this movie was from 2014.
So
all right.
It is the future-ish
Ish.
of then.
Yeah, it was the near future. And aliens invade. And they're kicking our asses. But then there seems to be a bit of a turnaround coming. And Tom Cruise is... what's his name? Croft?
Cage,
there we go. Is Major Cage, a media relations dude who is asked to film at, Space D-Day. And he's like, I don't wanna. And Brendan Gleeson is like, well, you kinda gotta. And he's like, I'll blackmail you. And Brendan Gleeson is like, I'm gonna have you dumped at the front and claim you're a deserter. And yeah, he is in no shape to fight. Yes.
Look, can we not do scene by scene?
Oh yeah, I was gonna... It's not going to go that much further than this. So yeah, he's in no way ready to fight. He goes, he dies, but he dies by blowing up a special alien that bleeds on him, and he gets caught in a time loop. And he is able to, relive the same day over and over, and then find out that Emily Blunt, who is a famous soldier, the Angel of Verdun, turns out she was caught in a time loop, but broke out of it because she ran out of magic blood. But because she did it, she believes him, and they hatch a plan to kill the god alien and save the world, and this wasn't part of the plan, they do a big, big reset so that everyone gets to live happily ever after.
Yeah.
Which is probably the right tone. I read somewhere that there was a plan just to let it be, super, super dark and have everyone die at the end, and then, whatever they did saves the day, but they're all dead. And they said, yeah, but we kind of need a lighter ending because, we mixed a lot of comedy into this, and all the comedy is very successful. Mm-hmm. So to have everyone dead at the end is a little anticlimactic and sad.
But it does open up, weird plot holes that... I mean, not that there aren't a lot of plot holes already, but that opens up a big one, which is why... So the first time he gets bled on by the alien, he dies...
And he goes back 24 hours.
I guess, or he goes back to the last time he woke up, or something? I don't know.
I think somewhere they said 24 hours.
Well,
because I wrote down in my notes, it's lucky that the aliens also have a 24-hour day.
But there's other times where he lives a lot longer.
Yeah, but he still first died at the same time. His first death was the one.
I know, but he always wakes up again at the same point.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a safe point.
Yeah, it's a safe point. But then the final time, when he dies inside the monster, he wakes up and it's a
couple hours before that.
Yeah.
Before his original save point.
When he's on the helicopter.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that made sense, because he
Why
died
does it make sense?
Okay, so if the first time that Cage dies, let's call it 8 a.m. Tuesday or what have you, alpha alien bleeds on him, his face goes all black and mush, wakes up 8 a.m. the previous day, let's call it Monday, because why not? And every single time from then on, whenever he dies, he goes back to 8 a.m. Monday because that was the original save point. By the last time, when he loses his save point because he lost too much blood or some shit that happened, he no longer has the 8 a.m. save point. This time he dies at, let's call it 7 a.m. on the Tuesday. So it gets blood on again, restarts again. But this time his save point is at 7 a.m.
Mm.
And I thought that made enough sense, but I also did watch a bunch of videos on this movie.
Yeah,
It's
I
also-
didn't get that. Wasn't well communicated. If that's what they were going for, it was not communicated in the movie.
But yeah, I just took it as, like, you know, he was bled on by the big boss, so got an extra big reset.
I thought it was the Alpha that got blown up right in front of him, bled on him too.
No, maybe.
But
that's also
that
possible.
wasn't shown, so you're wondering what is bleeding on him. It could be anything.
All I know is Tommy Boy had better make sure to get a transfusion at some point in his life.
Chris Farley? What?
Tom Cruise.
Oh, sure. Cage.
Cage. There we go. Cage. Because otherwise, he's going to live a long, full, happy life, die of old age,
Yeah.
and then wake up.
That is a loophole that they do kind of leave present for you to think about. Like, in like 50 years, if he just, has a heart attack or something, suddenly he's back on that helicopter.
Although I imagine if you live long enough,
You lose enough blood.
Well, you don't even just have to lose blood, just because, like, over time, your body
blood
does
is
make
replaced
new.
by
So
new blood.
I think, yeah, if you live long enough, eventually you would lose it regardless.
That's interesting.
But,
I wonder if anyone ever knows what actually happens. I wonder if he finds Rita at some point and is like, hey, you know how randomly all the aliens disappeared? You and I have a connection.
I mean, they show him going to meet her at the end of the movie. That's how the movie ends. So I'm sure that's exactly what happens.
Oh, dang. See, I had a better line for when they met each other at the very, very end, when finally, like, everything is better, and he walks over to her while she's doing her really intense plank. Jesus Christ, Emily Blunt. That he should have said, "There's something on your face." Because that was the running
actually,
joke.
yeah.
I would have loved it, and they didn't. But I fixed it for you guys if you wanna fix it.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, another plot hole that I spotted was, so she explains to, because movies and because like a full third of this movie is exposition, and necessarily so, because I don't know that there's any way to I mean, maybe there would be a way to explain it, but like most of what her character does for the first half of the movie is exposition, to the extent that she's expositing things that she wouldn't even know. Like, how does she know that getting the transfusion ruined her ability?
Well, that was her assumption, just based on...
Wouldn't her only way to know that to get
if she
killed?
died?
Well,
in which case she'd never know anyway.
In which case she'd never know.
Well, he did say after he got his, like, I felt it, it's gone. So, like...
Which seemed kind of throwaway.
Yeah, which seems like somebody was in the room was like, wait a minute, there's this massive plot hole, we gotta close it. And they're like, just have him say he feels it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Or to stop having, because if at that point he was having those visions all the time and they stopped, maybe you could say it's different and possibly because of that. And
yeah, maybe that's what it was. That honestly just seemed like fine.
I think it would have made more sense if, because another thing that kind of annoyed me was how they bring in this whole idea of the visions, but they bring it in like you don't get them right away.
Mm.
Like if it was something that was more present, and that's how he knew that it wasn't working anymore because the vision stopped. Like if they had established that like he has visions of alien shit, and then after he gets the blood transfusion, the visions go away, and that's how you know. Because I don't buy it just feels different.
My blood feels wetter.
Well, he felt his eyes re-glaze when he woke up. I don't know, that didn't bother me.
It bothered me for both of them, so I noticed it.
Yeah, see, I was just like, well, it's all the shit they're asking us to accept. I was just like,
true.
I will take, I can feel it, like...
You could have had that weird science dude, Carter, I want to say. Yeah, Noah Carter. Like, say, oh, your blood is different now. Ah.
Yeah.
Another, unnecessary character as well.
Because he's there just for exposition?
He's there just for exposition, and so that he could have invented...
The alpha device.
The alpha device. The device that lets him track down the alpha, which, again, not necessary. It works so much better if the characters are just discovering this shit. It doesn't make any sense that you would, like, how did this science guy come to learn this stuff?
Well,
Yeah.
she did say that in her loop she had gone to Whitehall a bunch, and like...
But then she's the only one with this information because everyone else resets every time. So they're just taking her word for it.
Yeah.
Well, right, but the thing is, he's the only one that did, and it's just like... Again, you need a scientist guy, because neither of them...
You don't need a scientist guy.
Neither of them are scientists.
No,
Well, you don't need science.
He's the Brent Spiner from Independence Day of this movie.
I know,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense.
Should have just been Brent Spiner.
As a character. It's just dumb screenwriting. It's okay. We need a science guy to explain the plot to us.
I'm curious how they did it in the novel. Now I'm very curious to read this novel because it does sound very good. It's based on the Japanese novel Chris mentioned, All You Need Is Kill, by Hiroshi Sakurazaka. And I guess the ending is different in that the two of them kind of sort of fall in love a little bit and realize one of them has to die during their very last one because they lost the power or something, but only one of them can live. And they have to battle each other, very reluctantly, which sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it was nice to have a purely happy ending, but it did feel a little Hollywood. Overall, though, I very much enjoyed this. It was very fun. I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I love the filmmakers basically called it a cross between Groundhog Day and Starship Troopers, which is fucking perfect.
Yeah. I also thought, and I after I watched it and looked it up, I saw I was obviously not the only person to make this connection, but it's the best video game movie not based on a video game.
Yeah.
You
don't like Wreck-It Ralph?
Actually, no. I got maybe 40 minutes in, felt like it had been 3 hours, and was like, I'm good.
Aw, I thought it was cute.
I know, a lot of people love it. I don't know why it bounced off me, but yeah, it's so... I remember at one point just thinking, oh god, this is a Dark Souls boss run. And what that is, because in Dark Souls, rather famously, there's... I mean, a lot of games have checkpointing, but with Dark Souls, whenever you go to a checkpoint, everything resets exactly as it was. It's very pattern-based. And so the boss run is when you die at the boss, you go to your last checkpoint, you have to go like, okay, the skeleton's going to be on the left, this is going to be on the right, duck the archer, then you're back to the boss. And it very much feels like that.
This movie or Wreck-It Ralph?
This movie, sorry.
Oh, God.
Why are you thinking we're talking about Wreck-It Ralph?
Because we were just talking about Wreck-It Ralph, and I don't think we segued back smoothly.
Sorry.
I think you're the only one that was talking
Damn
about
it!
Wreck-It Ralph.
Damn it!
But one thing that, and I give this is a credit to this film, is the one thing I had going in, I was like, ooh, I wonder what I'm going to think of this, because, like, I've never been super impressed by Tom Cruise. Like, I don't dislike what I've seen him in, but he's not like a draw.
The Scientology flavors him a lot these days.
Well, even that aside, just purely as an actor, like, I don't dislike his work. It's not like, previous 10 Forward star Jared Leto, who I find actively repellent as an actor. Like, Tom Cruise, he's fine, but you hire Tom Cruise to show up and be Tom Cruise.
Right.
There's that weird movie he did with Jamie Foxx years ago where he had like a silver spiked haircut. He was kind of playing a bad guy and it was really different. People said he's quite good in that, but I never saw it. But so I was going in like, oh god, I don't know. I hope he doesn't overly Tom Cruise it, because he's fine. But again, he's a huge draw. He is. I've seen artists. Oh, he's the last real movie star. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, he does all his own stunts, even when you beg him not to.
Like he is a draw for people. For me, it's like no. Like, if he's in a project that I don't care about, I'm thinking, but it's Tom Cruise, All
right, then what did you think about him in this?
So that's what I loved, is that when we first see him, he's just this kind of sniveling little shit, which is not a character he normally plays. And watching him go from that to, admittedly, by the end, just kind of being Tom Cruise, but you get it, he grows into it, and he's just such this wormy, little, unpleasant man. And it's like, oh, I've never seen this from him. That's great. And even just the way the physical acting he does, like when he's first in that awful suit, he can barely move.
He's lumbering with distress in his face.
Yeah, and like by the end, he's moving in it very, very easily.
I think his his height, as you know, how tall is he? He's supposed to be fairly
He's
short.
infamously sort of
And
short
I'm
by
sure
leading man
I'm
standards.
sure people exaggerate and say he's shorter than he is, but yeah, for a leading man like, who is normally like made to look taller than he actually is, I think his height served him well in this movie because he stood out from all the other soldiers.
He is 5'7".
That is way taller than I expected.
I mean, that's reasonably tall, but but like you say,
It's leading man short.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I was watching the Red Letter Media episode for this movie when it first came out. And I think they were wondering, like, what would this movie look like with a different lead actor? Because you expect Tom Cruise is going to go full action hero. And it's probably fun to watch the build, but you always know, like, you know, he's going to do all the action stuff. What if you found someone who literally was not an action person? Because that fits how the character starts out. I'm thinking like a Bill Hader or something like that, and just let him learn throughout the montages how to be an action star.
It's kind of like how the original idea for the Terminator was to get someone who was an ordinary-looking guy, so that when he's kicking the shit out of bikers, you go, what? And yeah, I can definitely see how that would have worked as well.
But I like Tom in this. I
Yeah,
guess
well,
they
he did a
also
really good job.
they had approached Brad Pitt before that. Brad Pitt said no, and I guess Ryan Gosling was also considered.
Huh. Interesting.
He might have worked. I don't know. I like Tom Cruise in this. I mean, I generally like Tom Cruise. I struggle to think of any films of his that I don't like.
Yeah, like I said, to be plain, I've not disliked anything his that I've seen. But I wasn't sure, like, again, I wasn't expecting him to start off as a different character.
Yeah. You typically know the character you're going to get when you cast Tom Cruise. Especially these days.
And in a way, that's the thing, even though we know where he's going to wind up, it's like, well, yeah, of course Tom Cruise is going to wind up there. Like I said, for me, a big part of the surprise and part of the delight was the fact that he starts off the anti-Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
and it's, in a
begging
way,
to get out of this.
Yeah, it's like this actually, the fact that we're so used to him playing this character, it's actually kind of brilliant to have him being, like, a schmuck.
Yeah.
Like, it both have their merits, you know? The idea of, like, here's a guy who's never an action star, and you gotta watch him become one, and that's, you know, kind of amusing. But you've got a guy who's normally an action star, who's not one, and then grows into the character you're used to. That also has its merits. So I can see both working really well.
Yeah, so beyond Tom Cruise, you know, obviously we have Emily Blunt as the female lead.
Yeah.
She's really good in this.
She is.
And, you know, cannot be overstated how good Bill Paxton is in everything. Like, he's just, I don't know, even though he's doing like a goofy character with a goofy accent and just generally being a goof, like, he still works, you know?
Yeah.
It's still, I really wanted him to slip a game over, man.
Oh, I love him.
I am willing to bet there was a lot of serious thought about having him throw one in, not just by him, but by everybody involved. And then they were like, yeah, it's...
He still got a lot of pretty good little
Oh, yeah, he did. And I appreciate avoiding the obvious reference.
Yeah. I think one thing I would have liked more, and maybe there just wasn't enough time, it's a pretty dense film, would have been more with the squad mates.
Yeah, because I definitely wasn't as attached to them as I could be.
Yeah. When they come back at the end, you're like, oh yeah, these guys, I'm glad these guys are back.
Yeah, like, I was glad they were alive, but, like, when they were dying, I didn't feel it. Maybe it does feel like there must have been a cutscene at the end, because, like, Emily Blunt finds Tom Cruise, and it's like, where's everybody else? And then we cut to clearly some time has passed because they're, like, down people, and they're talking about how they're down people, and it's like, so we missed a few of the deaths in there. And again, I wonder if it was written like that, or if they just were like, we're trimming this, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they do a lot of, like, kind of, like, you coming to the understanding that, oh, a bunch of deaths happened, and that's why he knows a lot more new things.
Yeah. I think the people they got, though, did very well with the scenes they had.
Yeah. Naked guy, he was great. I loved how, you know, at the beginning of the loops, you know, Cage is like trying to save people. You know, he like tries to save Naked Guy.
Yeah.
And he tries to save his squad, and he tries to save Emily Blunt and everything. And then, like, the more experience he gets with it, the more he's just like, you know, there's that scene where he just like is walking away as Naked Guy gets crushed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, no, he's done this, and like he knows, like, yeah, if I'm gonna defeat the aliens, as much as I'd like to save Naked Guy, I don't have time. I have to get this shit done.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's almost, again, the video game analogy where sometimes you'll have a mission and it's like, you have your objective, and then here's some optional ones, And if the optional ones go badly a couple times, you know what? It's optional. I don't need the XP.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And that was all. I mean, so that was also the run where he made it to the dam, because that was after Emily Blunt dies, and he's just like, fuck it. And
one of the many times Emily Blunt dies.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I feel like there was something about that one time that was different for him, and he decided he didn't even talk to her that time.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't even tell her what was up. He just went straight to the dam, which I thought was really, really kind of cool and clever. How, like, I mean, I guess it wasn't exactly, you could kind of see it coming that the dam was going to be a red herring.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see it coming until he went on his own, and then I was like, "Oh, something's gonna be up here." Like,
There's still so much time left in the movie.
But I mean, there's that. Like again, just the fact that he didn't take her, I was like, "Oh no, nope, something's up."
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of had a feeling that we would, that like there was something else happening there, that the visions were gonna be either misleading or an ambush or something, because again, science guy set it up for us that they're searching for you, they're trying to find you, and then so it's implied, or maybe it's even explicitly stated, that once he went to the dam and got wounded, they had his blood, and that meant that they were going to be able to track him.
Yeah, that I didn't follow terribly well.
Well, I think they were just trying to injure him without, like Emily Blunt said, they were trying to injure him enough that he would have bled enough that he couldn't reset the day when he died, and that got fucked up.
But I don't think that's how it works. I think it's because his blood got replaced with other blood. I don't think just losing your own blood causes it to go away. I think it's when your blood gets replaced.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to see how it worked, since they obviously never got Emily Blunt, so... Because the guy does actively stop him from shooting himself.
Yeah.
So they at least think, hopefully, that's how it'll work.
Yeah, well, I think they know that if he dies, it resets.
Yeah, I've definitely read synopses or analysis that basically said if the aliens had gotten him to bleed out enough of it, it could have fixed it, I guess.
Or again, at least that's what they're hoping.
So he died in the German dam and then reset again. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Because that was a little bit. I couldn't tell when he died. Like, honestly, I find it very funny. You see him die only a handful of times because so many of them are implied. I guess the total that I took down was you see him physically die 24 times. Which feels like it should be a lot more, but I think
it feels like a lot more.
So many of them are implied, but I guess there's only 24 that you physically see. In the book, the whole thing takes 160 days. But I feel like this must take a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to go through so many iterations of, like, the training. Or how many times does he make it back to Colonel Gleason or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
To be able to tell them, like, I know I've talked with you so many times and it never works, so I'm just going to throw more information at you and see what happens this time. And he finally gets the trinket. But each thing that he says, he's done this many, however many times, it's like, that's on top of all the other times. That's probably on top of all the times where he failed to roll under the truck correctly, which I'm sure is way more than the one we saw.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just like how rehearsed it was, even just getting into the building with Colonel Fuckhead. They must have done that alone several dozen times. Because he was timing it exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I've seen various people do, like, blindfolded video game runs, which blow my fucking mind.
Yeah,
that they can run it in close to the time that, speedrunners can run games, actually looking at the freaking game. And it's so much in the head of, like, how long do I have to do, waiting for different cues and things to do and to, like, hit a button right.
Yeah.
Listening for, like, an enemy to be on this side of you or to this side of you.
I think, like, at the most, I think anyone roughly our age could, with enough practice, maybe blindfold run Mario 1-1. But I could not learn the whole game.
You could if you did it 5,000 times.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, honestly, my memory's shit.
Yeah.
I think
plus doing it fast, that's even harder.
Yeah, like, I couldn't speed run 1-1. I could maybe blindfold at a normal pace 1-1. Maybe. What I also like, too, is that you reminded me of this when you talk about the sequence with Gleason later, with Emily Blunt there.
Yep, and the trick in the wall.
Is that even as he becomes more of an action guy, there's still that, like, core aspect of he was a media relations dude. Like, when he goes there, he relies, and it ultimately doesn't work, but he relies on convincing Gleason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because at heart, he's a talker. You know, getting J-Squad to go along. At heart, he's a talker.
Yeah, Rita could have just slapped him and they'd do it.
Yeah, like, and the fact that, again, like, clever on his part, he goes to the J-Squad guys, is like, here's the deal. They bring him to the room, and he's like, here's all these secret things I know. And again, he could have just brought her out sooner, and they, especially the grunts, who already idolize, would have been like, yeah, whatever. But he convinces them first, and then whips out his trump card when they're still a little wobbly. It's like, and I thought that was really clever, that he's still this media guy first and foremost, even as he is also, like, multi-classed as action man.
Whenever I see scenes like that, where it's suddenly like, well, actually, I have another person in mind. Come on out, Rita. And she comes out from the shadow where she's been lurking.
Mm-hmm.
Is how often it is that, like, you need someone to come in and drop a line, and they've just been waiting off camera somewhere.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be like, what are they? They're just waiting, like, around the corner, like, waiting for it. It reminded me of, I expected her to, like, jump out and say, did somebody say wonder, like in Arrested Development?
I mean, just speaking as someone who's been in plays and shit, yeah, you just stand there and wait for your cue.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sometimes it's weird.
He's making the, what is it, Angel of Vankara? Where the fuck is she
Verdun.
from? Verdun, sure. He's making her, this, very prestigious soldier, like, wait for his antics.
But she gets it, it's all, and that's the one funny thing is, like, and that's maybe one of the only real, not only, a sort of a more minor kind of, like, plot holy thing is that she doesn't know who he is already when they first meet even, but, like, he's their, like, media guy. It sounds like, is probably the one that...
She doesn't watch the news.
Yeah. No, but...
She's told what to do.
No, I know, but you think at some point she would have had to have gone to, like, some sort of event or something that he would have been there and been like, all right, here's your script, here's what you do. Like, even just a little throwaway line of, like, oh, you're that...
Oh, you're at that photo op thing.
What are you doing here?
You told me more backlight. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're that media dick. What are you... But again, that's such a minor niggle.
That reminds me, though, and I wanted to go back to the beginning a little bit, because I think I'm lost in why they're forcing him to be a soldier.
He pissed off Brendan Gleeson.
How?
Basically by telling Brendan Gleeson, I will make you look bad even if we win.
But that was in that meeting.
Why was he even summoned to be there in the first place?
Oh, Brendan Gleeson wanted him... He did want him to go over, but not as a soldier. He wanted him to go with, like, a camera crew and shit.
It was a split decision deciding to like, forcibly enlist this guy?
Yeah, like...
I did not get any of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. The idea was Brendan Gleeson was like, look, I'll send you to one of the areas where we're expecting slightly less violence so you can get some footage that you can use to make us look good later. Tom Cruise is like, I really don't want to. How about I just blackmail you? And yeah, in seconds, Brendan Gleeson comes up with this plan to, like, keel haul him and all, which is a kind of an insane thing to do on Brendan Gleeson's part.
Considering this is, like, literally the face of the war for America.
Well, it also sounds like this is a make or break offensive that they're doing. Like, if this, like, he knows if this doesn't go well.
So you send in someone who can't fight.
Well, again, because he doesn't want to send, like, he wants to send him to get rid of him. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of stupid to take this guy who is not a soldier and, like, you're mad at him. All right, throw him in a cell in the basement.
Yeah.
Like, because I was thinking that. It's like, you're going to send this guy in with these people who are actually trying to win. If they've got to, like, deal with this one schmuck who doesn't know what he's doing, that could actually make things worse.
Yeah. Like, they're babysitting this guy who can't figure out how to turn the safety off on his suit.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson's not a good guy. Like, he's kind of an asshole.
Well, I think there's also a sense of resentment for people in Tom Cruise's position of,
I can stride in and never get hurt.
Yeah, or just like, so there's a scene where he's in that pub, the time that he just decides, I'm just not going to do it this time. And the other patrons in the pub are all old people.
All veterans, conveniently.
They're all veterans, but they're all ancient.
Yeah.
And then when they see him there, they're like, "Why aren't you why aren't you at the front?" Because in in their mind, anyone that is his age
Yeah.
should be fighting. Like there's no excuse for an able-bodied young man to not be at the front. And I feel like maybe Brendan Gleeson's character kind of feels the same way. It's like, why is this guy, this smarmy prick guy, think that he gets out of, literally everybody on the planet basically is participating in this war in some capacity, and this guy is just acting like it's Hollywood.
Well, Cage does say at some point, like, because of all the reports and stuff, the reporting he makes and the public outreach, he says to him, like, I just probably got tens of thousands of people to enlist for you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's probably more important than sending this one guy in because he was a cocky dick.
Yeah, well, I think he also pissed off Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah,
that can't be understated.
Yeah, like that thing is like Brendan Gleeson's call there is very bad because it's like, again, even if you want to make an example of this guy, go through the proper procedures, you're potentially risking the mission by sending him.
Yeah,
like that's the one thing. It's just like you didn't send him to like an unimportant front. You sent him to the main thing.
That was pettiness.
Yeah, which admittedly,
I think that's what I didn't expect, because I didn't expect like a character like his in the middle of such a very important war to be so petty.
Yeah, I mean, people suck.
That's true.
But yeah, no, it definitely, like, whether you like it or not, you need the propaganda guys, and that's what Tom Cruise is. He's a propaganda expert.
Yeah, and he's also, and like Gleason's character is also kind of playing with the idiot ball more generally because he fires Science Guy, right? Like he fires Science Guy and hides his invention in a safe. Like, why wouldn't you just destroy it?
Yeah, just throw it out. You don't think it works.
Why are you keeping it in a safe?
I kept wondering, like, why don't you guys have, like, why isn't it more important for you to, like, capture alphas? Yeah. Like, that should be your number one priority. Yeah. Like in fucking Starship Troopers, where they capture the brain bug.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like, if there was the Science Guy, like, it really irritated me, the Science Guy, it's like, yeah, I was a scientist, but now I got fired, and now I'm a mechanic, and I work on the suits or whatever. There should have been an NPH type character, who's the science guy, and
well, because the impression I was under is that probably Emily Blunt brought him with her. Like, they were probably just gonna get rid of him completely, but she has enough clout to be like, I want this guy as my mechanic, and they were like, you sure? And she's like, Angel of Verdun, motherfucker, and they went, fuck, fine.
You see my propeller sword? It's fucking awesome.
It is.
See, okay. It's strongly implied that, so that's like her official, like, marketing title is Angel of Verdun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strongly implied that she doesn't like the more popular title that they gave her, which is fair. Which is Full Metal Bitch.
Oh, but that's so much more badass.
That's so much more badass.
I would love it.
It is, but I can understand, like, you don't want to be called a bitch, maybe. You don't want to reclaim it.
She seems like the type to want to be a bitch.
Yeah.
There should have, if this was a different kind of movie, there would have been, she would have confronted the alpha and been like, the bitch is bad.
Grateful that did not happen. Funny, but...
Because I'm assuming, right, because he kills the alpha, it bleeds on him.
The first alpha?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he resets, and because that happens, he resets the day. So I think the idea here is that no alphas ever actually die. Except, at the very
Except at the end when the Omega dies.
When the Omega dies. Like, the alpha, because the alphas just get reset every time. Even when he killed one, it probably got reset.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I think they did a lot of really good seeding, because normally I don't like the kind of exposition you get when you're watching newsreels, and I was like, ugh, newsreel. Mm-hmm. But they did a pretty good job of seeding things, like, oh, it's amazing. It's absurd how good at defeating us the mimics are. It's like they know our every move.
Yeah.
And it's like, haha, that's pretty good. And then they tell you the backstory of Rita, saying like, and somehow she, got into a battle and had like such little casualties that, it's so impressive and shit. And you're like, because I know the twist. It's like, I see what you did there. You seeded it right there. Like, good job.
I also, and I guess maybe this is a nod to sort of the video game-ness of the whole thing, is that she fights with a giant anime sword.
Well, apparently that actually is directly from the book.
Yeah, well,
although I think in the book it's an axe, but yeah, she uses a melee weapon in the book as well.
But still, I mean that's like an anime trope of
that's true.
The hero with a giant sword.
Yeah, they
Despite
say,
the fact that guns exist.
well,
Yeah.
they say that she does it specifically because reloading takes so fucking long.
Yeah.
Like, you see a couple times when
Yeah.
Cage has to reload. It's like, oh, I gotta find the thing in my leg holster and get killed whilst trying to reload.
That's the thing. Those suits.
Oh, they're
seem
cool.
They're cool, but sometimes they feel like as much of a hindrance as
They're supposed to.
aid. Because like I know there's in the first attack, you see some guy like who's landed badly and his suit's malfunctioned, so he's just on the ground as the suit spasms and there's nothing he can do about it. It's like, oh my god.
Well, and then like in one of the early rounds, she steals Tom Cruise's battery.
That was
and
good.
He's just stuck there.
I loved that.
Well, admittedly, he was dying.
Oh, yeah.
So may as well.
You won't be needing this. Want some facts about the suit? The suit's so cool.
Sure.
The battle suits each weigh at least 85 pounds. The bigger ones weigh 130 pounds.
The props, you mean?
Yeah, the costume
Yeah.
pieces.
Okay. So like IRL.
Yes.
The costumes.
Yeah.
Are that much.
Yeah, I think in world there might even this plastic supposed to be even heavier.
I would
but,
imagine, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
totally mechanized.
But they put it on Emily Blunt. And she said, "I don't think I can do this movie." And Tom Cruise basically told her to suck it up. And she's like, "I accept that, Tom Cruise. I'm going to try." And she fucking nails it. The other quote that I have is that each actor needed 4 people to put on their suit. Initially, it took 30 minutes to put them in and another 30 to remove the suits every time. And over time, after however many time loops they had to do, they got it down to 30 seconds.
Wow. That's impressive.
And between takes, they would basically hang the actors on like chains so that they wouldn't have all the weight on them all the time.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm also assuming not just like the process of putting on the suit, but they probably also like were stripping it down. The more they were like, okay,
Don't need this part.
the camera doesn't actually see this. We probably could do without this thing that weighs an extra 2 pounds. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the loops also looked like the same footage multiple times when it went back through, which I contrast with, like, last week we just watched Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad, or TNG's Cause and Effect, where they reshot them every single time to keep them fresh.
Yeah.
But this one, because a lot of the times, like every single time, balls out, the soldier, like lands and it's like, yeah, I made it! And then he gets squashed. Every time it's the exact same shot of I did the thing, I landed and didn't die yet.
I mean, I think that part of that also is just wanting it to be exact. Like,
Yeah.
Because if you reshot it, I mean, you could shoot
From
it
like a different angle.
You could have like multiple cameras, so you could have different angles, but it would be, some nerd's gonna watch and be like,
Oh, yeah.
but he, he raised his fist up to, shoulder height this time when before he lifted it up to, chin height. Yeah, and I noticed but there are some like subtle things that they did, in like I don't know if it was the second loop through, the second time he goes to the beach. The first time when he
Lands on his face.
it breaks his mask, so he loses the visor off of his helmet.
Mm-hmm.
The second time he doesn't,
Yeah.
but he lands almost in the same way.
Mhm.
Like he falls on his ass and his face, but
Ass and face. Holy
Yeah.
shit. That's impressive.
But the second time he doesn't break the visor, so it looks very similar, but he's doing a little better off.
How we landed in the same place after doing a whole different release technique is beyond me. But don't think about it. Yeah, I think these kinds of things. So I thought all the montages were very fun. They did a great job with montages, especially when it's just Emily Blunt shooting you in the head over and over again. That's excellent. And I think that's kind of what I was expecting the Lorca montage in Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad was going to be more like.
Yeah.
So preferred this, but they also, did have the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had 2 hours to work with.
Yeah.
The
Like they relied on montages in this.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is so we, not interesting, more interesting to think about, I guess, is that as many times as Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt have gone through, I mean, really Tom Cruise has gone through it, there's unseen many numbers of iterations that happened before he kills the first alpha, because the whole reason the aliens even know that they're going to attack there is presumably because
only the alphas are dying.
Because presumably at one point the first time the humans attacked the beach, they probably did okay.
Yeah.
They might have even made, because at the beginning when Colonel Jerkwad is...
Paxton? Bill Paxton?
No, the Gleason.
Oh, Gleason.
He's a general.
General Brigham.
Whatever. Bill Paxton's only a sergeant, isn't he?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. The sergeant heads up.
Master Sergeant.
Yeah. Well, I said colonel, which is nobody.
Sanders.
General Fuckwad. He's looking at the map of the. He's showing Tom Cruise sort of the map of like, okay, here's where we're going to attack, and you can see that there's no alien presence on that coast of France. Like it's like they're all inland. So presumably, the very first time they attacked, it was a complete surprise to the aliens, and they probably got the jump on them and made some.
And then they killed an alpha and said, "Let's try it. We're doing this again."
Then they killed an alpha, and the alien was like, "All right, rewind.
Yep.
They're coming. Okay, they're coming to the. They came, and and however many times it took.
And was Tom Cruise in all of them then?
Yeah,
Probably.
he must have been, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
So yeah, however many times it must have taken for the aliens to work out how to defend that attack to get to the point where it was the slaughter that we saw.
Yeah, it made me really like the little analogy that Bill Paxton makes to gambling. I want you to make sure that you don't believe in fate. And I'm like, yeah, that works. That works for this whole movie. Good job, Paxton.
Guess what, Bill? Guess what?
Game over.
Yeah.
What
Did
else?
she ever say how many loops she went through? I can't remember.
She says that she watched her friend, what's his shit?
Hendrix,
but I'm not sure if that's right.
That sounds right.
She said she watched him die 300 times.
Jesus, so
that's
minimum 300.
That's the only concrete number we get in this movie, and for all we know, she's picking a number out of her ass. It could have been more, like way more than that, and she's just like 300.
Yeah, I mean, we know, like, we have no clue how many he's done. I think my favorite reveal was when he fucks up in the farmhouse that time.
Yeah,
and
that's so good.
Knows how many sugars she takes. She's like, how many times have we done this?
Yeah, I love that. I think I wrote down the line. Can I find it? I think it was, oh yeah, this is as far as you ever make it.
Yeah.
It's such a great moment. Because there it's like, you can see like the weightiness of it. That he's tried so many times to get through that fucking helicopter cutscene.
Yeah. Ugh, those are always the worst.
I mean, one thing that doesn't admit, I don't know why they never thought to do this, but so obviously they can leave the base because they go to Whitehall and all that. But
you have to do the push-ups first.
But for whatever reason, they never figure, let's just go to Germany. Like what? Like why do they have to go on the invasion? Because like that's implicit, right? Every time that they try to get to the dam, it's because they, the way they do that is they go on the invasion, then they have to fight through the aliens, and they have to go to that trailer park, steal the van, drive the van through France to Germany, or to that farmhouse, take a helicopter from the farmhouse to the dam, and like they've done this however many times. At no point was Tom Cruise just like, maybe let's just go AWOL and like steal an airplane from an airport or something.
Because when they do that at the end to go to the Louvre, it's they have to get other people involved because just stealing, like they probably thought it would be just easier to be part of the invasion. That's got you across the channel. That part is done, and then we can just go from there. Whereas, plus they know that, the aliens are going to be there.
Yeah.
So if they go early, it's just the two of them against that whole force that's waiting for an invasion.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to be part of the invasion to even kind of have a hope in hell of getting through, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's another movie where like, the distance between things. You can just teleport over to Germany. It's like, all right.
Actually, that's what I gave him credit for. When they got in the van, I was like, are they just going to drive to... France is... And they do run out of gas. It's like, okay. Now then, the helicopter seems to make their one go, which I don't know what the capacity is on one of those. But they did acknowledge, like, you can't just drive all the way from France to God knows where in Germany on a single tank of gas. That's a schlep.
Yeah.
And yeah, the channel's not that big, ultimately. Like, that getting across with some planes, that's fine.
I did hate that it was the Louvre, and I imagine it's only because it's a recognizable landmark.
Probably.
It's like, we need to know where it is. It's obviously the Louvre, because they know what it looks like. Because who can say, like, oh, it's some random dam somewhere that he has to trickle, like, get trickle down information. Be like, okay, it had wording in German. Let me have go through another loop and I'll tell you another word in German.
It would make more sense for it to be somewhere in Germany, just because it sounds like they didn't even get there via ship, but by a meteorite or a comet or something. I mean, it may have been a ship.
Meteorites only fall in Germany?
No, but it's specific. One of the part of the jumble at the beginning was that the thing that got them there crashed in Germany.
I got it.
So, like, in the Omega, it looks like a big, relatively hard-to-move thing. So they schlepped that all the way to Paris from the middle of Germany. So, tricky.
Maybe it swam.
Yeah, if the aliens were smart, they would have landed, like, bumfuck nowhere in Siberia, because there's no way anyone was going to get to them.
Yeah.
Or figure out where they were.
It is unclear how much control they had over. Like, were they... Because the science guy suggests maybe they're just like a, almost like a disease on this meteorite, but for all we know, it was a ship that they just sort of disguised. It's hard to say.
I mean, what they could have said is like, the alien, control network must require a very large radio transmitter or a very large radio antenna, and it would be the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Arg blarg. No, I think just overall, I think they balanced the comedy with it very, very well.
Yeah.
Like, just little lines like, 10 minutes and then I'm killing you.
Yeah.
Lol, good one.
Yeah.
Have you tried sex? Yes, many times. How many times? Like, they made a gross thing very funny, and they did a good job.
Yeah, and you appreciate that, she then got to shoot him 5 minutes later. She enjoyed that.
Can't tell what I think about the smoochings.
Yeah, well, that's actually something I was thinking of. For all that, we are doing this in part because of Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Fuck, that title's too long. I was reminded of, and I should have looked up the title, but there's that Voyager where the woman from the Memory Wipe people fell in love with Chakotay.
Yes,
and she remembers, and thank you, Unforgettable. She remembers their relationship, but he doesn't. And it's like, Tom Cruise has gotten to know her over the course of God knows how many loops.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't remember any of that.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you tell me more than you tell me right now. You're usually more talkative than this.
So it's like he goes to her at the end like, oh man, we're going to become buddies. And it's just like, it's going to be like, and she'll believe, because again, she went through it. So when he shows up and says, I did the loop-de-loop, your middle name is Rose, she'll be like, oh shit, you did. But it's like, without this sort of situation, will she care? Like, will she like him? She'll be like, you're kind of a schmuck.
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe this, but I heard somewhere, without any citation anywhere, so grains of salt and all that.
Whole nine.
That Emily Blunt improvised the kiss scene, and it wasn't originally in the script. And I guess she decided, maybe they do a little kissy kiss.
I mean, there are many people who, give it a chance, would smooch Tom Cruise, so...
Yeah, and I'm about to go die.
Yeah.
Go out with smoochings.
Yeah, it makes some sort of sense.
Why does General Jerkwad...
Brigham.
So he gives them the device, and sends them on their way, only to have them attacked on their way out.
Because he knew Emily Blunt had a gun and was very ready to use it. Because Tom Cruise, don't shoot him this time at one point. It is, what an asshole.
Yeah, big time.
Even after all that, how do you think he faked any of that, you weird, weird man?
I mean, honestly, if they were smart, they should have stuck him with the thing while they were still in the office.
Yeah.
Got the information and then shot him in the head. Because...
Brigham?
Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because once he has the information, they could just get a whole nother, get some more time in.
Yeah. And actually, if you're going to reset the day, shoot Brigham, then shoot Cruise.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Just to feel good about it. Fuck that guy. What an asshole.
Yeah, because obviously they had a lot less time in that final loop because, they had already gone through that whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
And then, they were in the hospital for some amount of time, and then they had to get back to base and convince everybody. If they had already figured out, they're at the Louvre.
Yeah.
And had that information at the start of a loop.
But then you wouldn't have had the whole extra layer of he's lost his.
Oh yeah,
to-do,
no.
so.
I know it's. I mean, there's that's just like
the
a
plot requires some.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
storytelling thing. They want to raise the stakes, and I get that, and I don't have a problem with that. But I guess I'm just I'm
Yeah, logically
Monday
there was,
morning quarterbacking the characters.
there's more logical ways to go about it for sure.
Yeah. The writers knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
the characters didn't.
When you think our backs aren't up against the wall right now, we should keep going like you do in like a video game. Where you're like, oh, do I need to go restock on health? No, I'm probably fine right now. And then you meet up a boss and you realize, oh no, I should have gotten fucking health.
Always stock up on health.
Yeah, and now we have permadeath, so we can't fuck around.
Permadeath.
Yeah, so this movie, so it's a 2014 movie.
Didn't do terribly well in the box office.
Yes, I mean it's very highly rated by both critics and audiences.
Yeah, I think DVD was really what got it up there, and I wonder a little bit if it was their marketing, because I know like they spent like $100 million on marketing or something absolutely insane, only for it to not do well in the box office.
That's the thing. I feel like when it came out, I didn't see it, but I vaguely recall the discussion around it.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the title. Edge of Tomorrow is stupid. It's not a good title. It could be fucking anything. They originally wanted... Well, first they weren't going to go All You Need Is Kill because they didn't want to kill in the title because, people don't like the optics of that, which, fine, whatever. But Lyman was really pushing for Live, Die, Repeat, which is very good and sums up this movie very easily.
I remember... Because I remember the discourse at the time, and a lot of things people said was like, they should have just gone with that, and when they did finally put it out on DVD...
The tagline is bigger than the title.
Yeah, like it says Live, Die, Repeat in huge letters. You can barely... The title's like in a corner somewhere. Yeah. Like, I think they realized, we should have maybe... But yeah, I don't remember if it was clear from the trailers and stuff that there was a time loop involved.
Or even that it was sci-fi.
Well, because they had the big chunky suits, so I mean, at the very least, there was that. But that is.
It just sounds like a military movie.
We should have watched the theatrical trailer.
That's true.
I suspect it came off as more of a generic action flick.
Yeah, like how people think Starship Troopers. Thank you. You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. How they think that's just a war allegory when really it's like crushing farce.
Oh yeah, it's a satire of Helldivers too.
Yeah, I guess there's been a sequel in the works since 2015 that Cruise says is even better than this movie and it'll blow your mind and all this shit, but they just can't find time in his and Blunt's schedule to make it work. I mean, and it would be called Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat.
Here's the thing though, I very much enjoyed this movie. You've told your story. Yeah. Let's be done.
Does not need a sequel.
I hear it's good. I'd give it a chance.
I mean, what is it? They're going to be the same characters? Is it the aliens? Somehow Palpatine returns?
The only thing I know is they're calling it both a prequel and a sequel simultaneously, which sounds interesting.
I mean,
Back to the Future 2.
Well, I think it's going to be mostly like the Rita story.
Well, I also think, I mean, it could be that.
I think. Don't count on what I said. This is what I'm assuming.
By having Tom Cruise resurrect again at the end in the helicopter.
Yeah.
That does, as you alluded to, he's got the blood now, so he could theoretically.
He's a vampire.
That kind of leaves the door open to, you could even open a sequel with them in old age.
Yeah.
And he dies, and he wakes up back on that stupid helicopter. Motherfucker!
But yeah, it's just, I do though, it could work, it could be interesting, but at the same time, sometimes just tell a story and leave it, Yeah. I never saw Pacific Rim 2, even though I thought the original was very entertaining, because I was like, you told your story, just stop. Let a thing be its own thing.
I mean, punching monsters never gets old, though.
Is Charlie Day in the second one?
Probably.
I think he is.
Okay, maybe we'll watch Pacific Rim 2.
We gotta watch the first one first. We could do both of them, I guess.
Just the Charlie Day ones. Because I love him.
Yeah, well, Ron Perlman's in it too, and he's good in the first one. I don't know if he's in the second one, but...
Here's another note, just out of nowhere, because it's one that I think it's funny. The Trafalgar Square scene required closing 36 roads, diverting 122 bus routes, and booking all the rooms in nearby hotels. And then, on top of all that, they had to organize a costly restoration of a historic wicket at a local cricket ground after one of the production helicopters knocked it over.
Oh, no.
Which makes me laugh.
Not a wicket.
Jesus.
Wait, isn't that sort of how cricket is played anyway? Don't the wickets
Got to knock him over,
Yeah, isn't the point?
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like filming, especially in Britain, was a major pain in the ass because since every day has to look exactly the same, and British weather is unreliable.
Deeply.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, but how many of the scenes were actually filmed? Just the London scenes.
But still, that Trafalgar Square scene, though, is like...
Yeah, you see it so many times.
And that's a major hub, so that's probably why they had to shut down so much, because it's just so much flows into that section of the city. But yeah, no, like I said, I remember when this came out, and it didn't quite do what they wanted. Again, I think partly maybe the marketing. I wonder, too, like, if there... Because I know, like, for me, I was just like, I saw it was some Tom Cruise action film, and I was like, I'm fine. So I kind of wonder if this was a case where maybe it didn't help having him there.
Yeah,
I
I
wonder.
I think that they just needed to market it differently. I mean, it's so difficult, too, because so many films, and I complain about this a lot, are franchise films, sequels, prequels, adaptations. And I know this is technically an adaptation, but it's... it's an adaptation, but not of something that probably a lot of Westerners would have been familiar with.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna count it as an original thing for all intents and purposes.
You're starting from square one with your marketing, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I complain, and a lot of people complain. It's like, oh, why is Hollywood so derivative? Why can't Hollywood do anything original? Why is everything a sequel, prequel, whatever, franchise, adaptation? It's because of shit like this, right? You do a really good movie, you do a really good
original thing.
Original, short story, Japanese short story notwithstanding, an original film. You have super high powered star power.
Yeah.
Budget. I'm sure the budget was insane.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed fairly reasonable-ish. The budget I wrote down was $178
That is huge
compared to other movies.
In 2014?
As I was saying, at the time, budgets hadn't quite... Don't get me wrong, they were starting to spiral out of control, but that was still only money you were spending on, like, Avengers 1.
Yeah, maybe it's that I'm comparing it to, like, Marvel movies.
Yeah, I mean,
which
that's
are,
like... Yeah,
are out
yeah,
of this
yeah,
world.
exactly. I mean, I think for
And
any generic action movie,
at the time, that was insane.
That was huge.
Especially something not already connected to a franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That
So,
you know, like, okay, we have a built-in audience that will help out with that.
Yeah, so Hollywood
ticket
rolls
sales.
the dice,
I mean,
and they lose. They get snake eyes.
it's astounding how bad they are at marketing sometimes.
Or is it audiences?
I think a lot of times, like, I swear this makes sense. Princess Bride is kind of like, everyone loves that movie now, but it didn't do well. And if you have
because their marketing didn't make it look like a comedy.
Right, the marketing
made
made
this
it...
one up a lot too.
Oh, I brought it up before, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, there's the number of times you see, like, I remember watching the trailer for that came with the DVD and being like, oh, this in no way let you know this was a parody / comedy film. Like, they're making it look like just a serious medieval fantasy romance. This looks terrible. And the number of times you'll watch an old trailer for a great film and you're just like, who decided to market it this way? Because they have these weird ideas about what will and won't work in marketing, and I don't think they actually know. They just think they know.
I mean, to be fair, I think they might not know, but I also just don't think that even if they did know, it would really work a lot. Because I think that speaking as a consumer, as an audience member, I'm questioning, like, what would the ad for this movie have to have conveyed for me to want to go see it? And I don't know.
Yeah, again, I will admit, by my own admission, I remember vaguely hearing about it and just thinking, this doesn't look like it's for me. And it turns out it was really good.
How do you make it, like, clear that it is Groundhog Day meets Starship Troopers? Because that's a good way of framing it. I mean, and you know, like, there's going to be the comic moments.
I mean, part of the problem is...
But also sci-fi.
For better or worse, movie trailers no longer have voiceovers.
That's true.
20 years ago, every
in a world where, etc., in the gruff voice.
Yeah, but now...
That guy died, and they were just like, we're done.
Movie trailers are just clips from the film, which is great if you already know by sight what Captain America looks like and, who Star Wars is. But if you're trying to market a new IP or an IP that's going to be new to the audience that you're marketing to, just showing them clips out of context doesn't do a lot. So what do? Okay, well, we have Tom Cruise in our movie. Okay, people like Tom Cruise. Well, some people like Tom Cruise, but people like
watching him run.
People like Mission Impossible movies. Those do really well. Yeah, well, it's because they've seen them. Because when they see it's MI whatever, they're gonna go.
Yep.
They don't like Tom Cruise necessarily. Like Tom Cruise on his own is probably not enough to sell a movie if they're not already inclined to see it. And then, on top of that, okay, how else are we going to sell an original movie here? Okay, well, we've attached a famous director. We've got Quentin Tarantino. That'll sell. I'll go see a movie if Quentin Tarantino's directing it. I might go see a movie if Chris Nolan's directing it. Like, these are directors who they themselves are the selling point. I don't think this was directed by anybody of note.
Doug Liman.
There you go.
Never
heard of him.
I know. I've read the name a couple times, and I did not remember it even afterwards.
It's like okay, I can understand why this movie was a tough sell because of all of these factors.
I wouldn't be surprised if the way you could have done it, I think, is like you open on a battle scene, you show Tom Cruise, you show him die, and then you show him wake up, and that's how you kind of get it across without a voiceover even. But they may have just been relying on the fact, like, hey, it's Tom Cruise, people show up for him.
Explosions. Everyone likes explosions.
Yeah, they may have leaned on that. I don't know. Again, I don't remember the ad well.
See, here's what you do.
Shit!
We're gonna bring back trailer narration. What was the character's first name?
William.
Let's see. And he was a major. Major William Cage. Major Bill Cage is having the worst day. Again. Or, I don't know.
Just sounds like Back to the Future.
Yeah, well, yeah. So,
remember all those terrible taglines we read off when we were doing Back to the Future?
Oh, God, yeah. I forgot about that. Those sucked. That's the tricky part is, like, I think with the marketing, even if they had done it, quote-unquote, right, there would have been no good way in a trailer to get across that, like, even though it's a serious action film, there are light moments. So they probably would have had to have leaned on the dramatic stuff.
Well, I think some of the deaths are funny. Like,
they're hilarious.
By the time the deaths get funny, I think your trailer is just watching a bunch of the deaths. No, but that's
takes away that
gives away your gimmick a little bit.
And your
jokes. You kind of need the gimmick to be translated.
Yeah, but it's like when a comedy trailer, they put the best jokes in the trailer and then the rest of the film is kind of flat. Mm-hmm. Like, it is nice just kind of watching the montage fresh. Also,
but there's so many montages.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that you need to explain about this movie to sell it, because...
And that's why you want to bring narrator voice?
Well, yeah, because it's like, there's an alien invasion. Tom Cruise is an inexperienced soldier that's out of his element.
Well, this is already what's in the synopsis. So.
Yeah, but it's not in the trailer. In the trailer, you just got
to... really should watch
in the trailer. I'm going to bet it's just a bunch of action scenes of Tom Cruise running around.
Probably.
Oh, I'm sure it is, yeah.
Doing the Tom Cruise scream.
Which I maybe do see him, like, I'm making a judgment right now, or making a call right now. Like, I bet you do see him die once.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Like
I'm sure it's alluded. It's just very difficult to sell the whole movie, I think, based on a 30-second trailer.
I will say, turns out Lyman, before he did this, had done Swingers, which is a very, I've never seen it, but a pretty well thought of late 90s. It's part of that, like, late 90s indie, like, boom we had.
Yeah, which is an entirely different genre of movie.
Yeah.
Yes, but then he did The Bourne Identity and Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
When were those?
99 and 2002. Sorry, 2002 and 2005.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, I mean, he did he also did Jumper, though. Whoops.
Oh, is that the Hayden Christensen film?
Yeah, the Hayden Christensen superhero movie without costumes.
I remember Mr. and Mrs. Smith being great.
Oh, yeah, people love that movie. And the first Bourne movie is still, I think, considered a classic of the genre, so...
I just remember that movie that was like a vehicle for Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
It was,
yes.
Mr.
and Mrs. Smith, yes.
Yeah.
There's apparently a series now with, I can't think of his real name, Childish Gambino.
Donald Glover.
Yeah, Donald Glover, and I don't know who's Mrs. Smith, but, yeah. Turns out there was an even earlier Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which the film was very loosely based on, starring Scott Bakula.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think it was, like, right after Quantum Leap, and it didn't last.
Which one was he?
Weirdly, he was actually Ziggy.
I knew it.
Oh, like, bring it back to our what we
Yes.
think the trailer should have been. I actually have it. You just have a full scene.
Mm-hmm.
The whole scene where he's going around the barracks saying, "I know you and you and you. Everyone listen to me." Cut to he's duct taped. He's got his mouth duct taped because that's like one of the laugh out loud moments, and you're like, you get it. Like I see the whole point of the movie is him reliving things and trying to make people fucking listen to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
If at first you don't succeed, die again.
Oh, that's not bad.
Perfect. You're right. We need to bring back Trailer Boys.
Mm-hmm.
I know people like.
I
think
find
it's
it too camp these days, though.
well. It's been long enough now that maybe we can take it seriously again.
Well, I think it wasn't even that long ago. It was like the 2000s. Like
It's been probably about 20-ish years.
it's probably about, but still, that's not that long. That's not
Yes,
very
it
long
is.
ago. No.
It's 20 years. It's a long fucking time.
But still, like it seems like it's the movie trailer narration is something that existed,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of stopped doing it with pre-existing IP films like Star Wars.
Yeah.
They
Because
stopped
you didn't need it.
because you didn't need it because Star Wars sells itself, Marvel sells itself, and then they're like, oh well, yeah, but now whenever we have the narration, it sounds really campy.
It sounds like it's going to be a dumb movie.
It sounds it sounds bad.
Well, because the only time they use it now is in like a sort of a spoof way,
Or like a rom-com, you
Ugh,
know, like
yeah. Hot Frosty.
yeah.
I will say, having seen really old trailers.
Oh, I was hoping it was going to be Hot Frosty.
No,
Damn it.
No, God,
Damn
no.
it.
No, that sounds like from everything I've heard, that movie is just so bad it's bad, not like so bad it's fun.
I think I watched the pitch meeting for it, and it's fucking excellent.
Oh, there's a pitch meeting. Oh, I have
think
to watch
there is.
that.
I'll find it.
But I remember watching an early, like I want to say it was the Philadelphia Stories trailer, and they had the opposite problem where they overdid. They basically just told you the whole film as the trailer. It's like, well, now I don't need to see it.
Yeah, well,
Thanks.
that's another problem now too. Is that a lot of films do like the trailer needs to entice you to see the film. It shouldn't just tell you what the film is.
Yeah, they give way too much away. But then again, I say that as an obsessive nerd who is like picks up on like stupid little details because that's what I do. So like I was like, oh, they gave that whole big thing away. And it was like, what? It was in the trailer. And people were like, it was? Like, yes. So maybe normal fucking people who have lives don't have that problem.
Yeah, no, it is easy to spoil things in the trailers
So
though,
easy.
because like you'll see like, oh, something hasn't come up yet that you saw in the trailer, so you know like Chewie's still alive or shit like that.
Well, I remember, and I it's your favorite topic, but
Oh no, not Batman.
The Dark Knight, though, there's a whole thing where you're supposed to believe for a while that Gordon's dead, but there was a scene in the trailer from after it's revealed he's still alive, and I was like, that scene hasn't happened yet. He's fine. And movies do shit like that constantly.
Yeah.
I want to find a way to be able to go in fully cold to a movie, not knowing a fucking thing about it, just knowing that it's something that I will, that there's a good chance that I will like it.
Yeah, that's the hard
And
part,
what's
though.
that thing? Because I feel like I enjoy things more when I'm surprised. Like, I just finished a book that, I specifically just knew, like, oh, this is a book people like that I'll probably like. Not knowing what... Like, I knew it was sci-fi. That's all I knew about it. Reading through, it's like, oh, I like this aspect of it. You go to the next bit. Oh, there's a new development. Then I'm liking this. And it's stuff that I would have spoiled myself on if I just read the jacket of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I'm at the point now where, like, be it a film or a game or whatever, like, I'll maybe, if there's an initial trailer and it looks interesting, I then kind of try to stop following it because inevitably they just keep
telling you
more and more with the marketing. So that's the best I've managed is like giving myself that initial tease and then cutting myself off if I can. Because again, algorithms just throw shit at you constantly now, and people don't keep spoilers out of fucking article titles.
Honestly, I have to say, okay, so I'm thinking back. There's two movies that spring to mind that I've seen in the last 20 years that I had no knowledge of them whatsoever.
I want to guess. Arrival.
No, I knew what Arrival was.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't, and I fucking love Arrival.
Right? Yeah. No. I knew what Arrival was when I saw it. I think I would have enjoyed it, but I like both of these movies are movies that. One of them I kind of knew, or I kind of had like a general sense, and the other one I knew nothing. So the one that I kind of had a general sense of what it was Inglourious Bastards. I knew it was a Quentin Tarantino World War II movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything else about it. and I saw it in the theater because Quentin Tarantino movie, it sells itself.
Oh yeah, and those are specifically fun to see in a theater.
Yeah, and like it's one of the best times I've ever had in a movie theater. You know, I don't want to spoil it to anybody listening who may not have seen it, but if you haven't, just go see it.
There's some surprises you would not expect.
There's some surprises you would expect, and it was just such a blast, and like everyone in the theater is going nuts.
I feel like too he's the kind of guy though who probably has a little more say over the trailers. So he would make sure they don't fucking give shit away.
Oh yeah. And then the other movie that I saw in the theater with zero knowledge of what it was. I think I went because a friend dragged me to it.
Oh, was it the one with the candy?
Oh no. Well, there's that. Yeah, that was a nightmare. No, it was Borat.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea what Borat was, and I don't think I've laughed as hard before or since than seeing Borat completely cold turkey in the theater, not knowing who Sacha Baron Cohen is, not even, I mean, knowing, okay, it's some kind of comedy. It's, you know, it was just an unbelievable experience. And like, I've tried to rewatch it, and it's just like, okay, it's not as funny now. It's just, But man, seeing that movie in the theater, I just lost it.
How did you miss it? Because like, here's I've actually never seen Borat, but I remember like the ads and shit. Well, I couldn't have gone in as cold as you did.
Yeah, well, maybe we saw it because I don't know if it came out and it was kind of a lesser, like maybe it didn't immediately have a big impact. Like maybe it was possible, a word of mouth.
I do follow. Not as much anymore, but I used to follow movie shit very closely.
So we might have. So I don't know. Whatever it was, I had no idea what it was, and it was really entertaining.
I would love to experience something like that, like something that ends up as a cultural phenomenon, and I somehow had no idea what it was going in. Mm-hmm. Like that must have been a trip.
It was really cool, but yeah, and then of course there's that was Antichrist.
Yes,
was the movie,
with the snow
with
caps.
The snow caps, and dear God, don't see it. Just don't see it. And if you do, don't bring snow caps with you.
Well, now you'd be watching at home.
That's true. That's true.
Have a big old ham sandwich.
Yeah.
The loudest ham sandwich.
Oh yes. Yeah. Lettuce, nice crisp lettuce.
Fill it with potato chips.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I haven't put chips on a sandwich in ages. That's very fun, though.
Getting hungry for dinner.
Say, what a tangent.
It's too early for dinner, son of a bitch.
But yes, this.
And I think I went in fairly cold when the first time I saw this movie.
Yeah, I did too. A friend of ours showed it to us. And
yeah, the thing is, I went in, again, vaguely remembering the marketing from a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And knowing, because we talked about that, it's a time loop, I still wasn't ready for what it ultimately was. And I think, again, it did a great job of balancing tone. It shifts genre, sort of, because it's an action film, but then it's a heist movie for a little while. Yeah. Then it's an action film again. But it doesn't feel weird when they do the shifts. Like, they managed to balance a bunch of shit that easily could have not worked. And that's impressive. And again, I even really like Tom Cruise in it, who, again, normally I'm just like, he's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, actually, I do love him in the original Mission Impossible. Like, the others are entertaining, but he has the most glorious breakdown in that movie. And I don't think he's ever done quite as well at just being a broken shell of a lunatic ever since, at least in films. In the real world, he might be a little crazy. But yeah, no, he was great. Emily Blunt was great. Fun supporting cast that would nice to see a little more of, but drive me crazy. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt who helps him get in the exosuit.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there the whole picture like, who is this guy? He kind of looks like Clint Howard, but that's not who he is. And I realized I know him as one of the mechanics from Speed Racer.
The cartoon?
The Wachowski adaptation.
There's a live Speed Racer?
Yeah.
Weird.
I mean, I think it's live. It's mostly
There's a lot of
CG.
It's honestly, it's fun. It's underrated. It was I think one of their first big things after they did the original Matrix trilogy. So I think expectations were really high and incorrect for what they gave everyone, which was a pretty faithfully campy Speed Racer film.
Mm-hmm. Is Tom Cruise Minority Report?
Yes.
You should watch Minority Report sometime. That's a good movie.
That's pretty decent.
What was the other? There was another kind
Elysium.
of mind trip movie that he was in.
Is it not Elysium?
No, Elysium's Matt Damon.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Because there's an exosuit in that too, right?
Vanilla Sky? Is that a movie?
Yes, it is. I've heard of that one. That's supposed to be really trippy.
Yeah, I remember that being really trippy. Yeah, like I say, I
And yes, Elysium's Matt Damon.
Oh, what the fuck am I thinking of then?
There's a lot of good Tom Cruise movies. Risky Business, classic.
I've actually somehow never seen that.
Really? That's a
Yeah.
good.
I will say about Minority Report, the worst movie I've ever seen. And I'm very good at avoiding movies I think I won't like, so I'm sure there are worse movies than this out there. But the worst movie I've ever seen is AI. Steven Spielberg's AI.
I liked AI.
Yeah,
Jude Law is adorable in it.
He's fucking great. Rest of the film... And now, admittedly, part of that might have been because I had expectations that I made up based on the trailer. But I remember it was the first movie I ever walked out of thinking, well, that's time I'm never getting back. Which is a weird thing to think when you're like... I think I was like 16. You're too young to have those thoughts. And I don't know, maybe I'd like it more as an adult. My tastes have shifted.
Just I'll go Jude Law. You'll be fine.
True. But, you're not in enough. But I will say that Minority Report was the movie that made me think, okay, Spielberg hasn't completely lost it. This movie was good.
Yeah, Minority Report's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, I'm glad I finally saw this.
Hooray!
Yeah, and I think they did. The other thing they did a good job of, I want to say, as we are clearly working around. One of the trickiest things with any sort of time loop, or even like a Rashomon parody, where you're seeing the same thing from different perspectives, so not quite a time loop, but a similar idea. Figuring out exactly how much you need to show per loop or per retelling to have it be like interesting without getting dull, because that's tricky. You could fuck that up and be like, okay, we don't need the full 5 minutes. We don't even need 4. Give us 3.
We already saw this.
And they did I think with this, they really nailed like just the exact amount you needed to see every time.
Yeah.
Which I think is also key to making it work. So, a lot of credit not just to the director, but I imagine the editor too had to do a lot of heavy. I mean, editors always do. I think in general they are underappreciated, but I feel like the editor on this really earned their paycheck.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the writers. It's a good film.
Yeah, good film.
Wish I'd seen it sooner.
Enjoyment.
Still glad it's on its own though. I'm happy with this as a single unit.
I want to see a sequel. I demand sequel, Tom. Get on it.
Maybe I'll read the book, or they actually. So it was a novel, and then it was adapted into a comic, and then a film.
Oh yeah, like a manga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've seen stills of the Rita equivalent from that with her giant axe looking fly as fuck.
Cool.
Well, everyone, that was a great discussion. Thank you all for
Thank you for joining us.
For time looping with us.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time.
Fuck, I already wasted the time loop outro on last week too.
Well, you can do it again.
Son of a bitch.
Do it again.
Yeah, next time, though, on our podcast, we will be covering an episode of Star Trek The Discovery, something in Latin about Parabellum. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can find it.
I think that was John Wick 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, until then, you can find more of our podcasts on the internet at at SoundCloud. Search for SSHB Podcast. You can find us at sshbpodcast.com. We're on Tumblr, Facebook, probably it. You can also, of course, get us...
I'm going to try to do the Blue Sky.
Yeah.
We've been very lazy about doing the Blue Sky.
Blue Skies. Wasn't that like the term for like the USA network shows, Blue Sky shows?
Maybe.
But anyway, you can find us on the social media. You can also find us in your podcast app and wherever you do for podcasts. Anyway, I think that's all we got. Join us next week. Until then, my name has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames. And that's been Jake.
And that's been me. Bye.
Yes, thank you to Jake and Ames for bailing me out there. As you may have guessed, we are discussing magic to make the sanest man go mad.
Listen, Stamets was never the sanest man.